No.
Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Chelsea. I serve as the program manager for the Region 10 Opioid Abatement Council, referred to as Gateway to the Rockies, or GROC. This is our July 27th virtual full council meeting. We do have a full agenda today. We are going to start with attendance and quorum. Commissioner Dahl-Kemper or Kerr. Oh, that's actually Zenzinger. Commissioner Marlin, or I have to update you too. Ball Hartman Ball.
Yes, it is the latter. I am here.
Thank you. Commissioner Hollingsworth or Aiken. I know Dan and Luke could not be here today. I know Heidi could not be here today. I don't think Stephen was able to make it either. Kevin Armstrong or Greg Demo. I'm not seeing. I am seeing Undersheriff Demo.
Sorry, I can't find my unmute button in timely fashion. Hello, everybody. I'm here.
Thank you. Laura Weinberg or Chris Wolf.
This is Laura. I'm here.
Thank you. Janine.
I'm here.
Thank you. Tori Jance or Troy Cooper.
Tori Jance is here.
Thank you. Dr. Story or Michael Miller.
Michael Miller is here.
Thank you. Dr. Ryan or Emily Cooper.
Here.
Marie Larson or Elisa Witt.
Hi, everyone. Marie's here.
Thank you. Mary Berg or Barb Weinstein.
Hi, it's Barb Weinstein.
Thank you. Sarah Casana or Dr. Gillingham.
We're both here. Thanks.
Yay. Janie Barker or David Jocelyn.
David is here.
Thank you. Kristen Heath or Judge Jones.
Hi, Kristen here.
Thank you. And I saw Commissioner Hollingsworth come in.
Yes. Hi.
Thank you. I did drop the link in the chat for all of our non-voting members to do an attendance check-in. If an alternate and a voting member are here, if the alternates could please fill out the link, we will get to that momentarily. We have governance, approval of June 22nd meeting minute.
Anybody have any comments on those minutes? See Commissioner Hollingsworth here. I'm going to go ahead and make a motion to approve the minutes from June 22nd.
Michael Miller second.
Thank you. We will vote by opposition or in the chat. I'm not seeing anything. So we will go on to conflicts of interest statements for today. These are defined as a direct financial interest in any proposal or existing award. We do have that revised language. Conceptually, we made an agreement last month. That writing is finished to review today. I did take a note on what those standing conflicts of interest would be. So that would be Commissioner Dahl-Kemper for the Jeffco Sheriff and Jeffco Public Health Awards. The latter has an agenda item today. Dr. Story and Michael Miller have a conflict of interest on the Jeffco Public Health Award, which is being discussed today. Commander Ayton and Luke Parr have a COI on the Jeffco Sheriff's Award, not being discussed today. Commissioner Marlin has a COI on the CCHAT and Mountain Youth Network Awards, not being discussed today. Dr. Ryan has a COI on the Mountain Youth Network Award. Commissioner Hollingsworth has a COI on the Gilpin Sheriff and Gilpin Parks and Recs Award, not being discussed today. Sheriff Armstrong and Greg Demo have a COI on the Gilpin Sheriff Award, not being discussed today. And then let me pull up our attendance. We just have Dr. Gillingham, which does not have a conflict of interest. Did I miss any last minute? We do have Nina Shepard, who is a GROC grantee for Monarch Recovery. Kate Newman is the Deputy County Manager, Acting County Manager for Jefferson County, which serves as fiscal contact for GROC. No conflict of interest. Rhiannon, I forgot yours on here is the standing one. Rhiannon Straight is with the Omni Institute, which is a GROC awardee for program evaluation and facilitation support. And then we do have Matt from EUNA. They are a GROC, I guess it's not an award, we pay for their software, who will be facilitating the EUNA reviewer onboarding today. I think that's everything. We have a brief finance report. This slide remains unchanged. Total funding to date, expenditures from 2023 to 2025, about almost 2.8 million. Expenditures in 2026 to date. I do have to update this. We have not included the June expenses in here yet. They are still processing at the time this the meeting materials went out. Our obligated has not changed, about 9.8 million, and our unobligated is about 9.2 million. To date, CCHAT has expensed $371,135.68. Denver Recovery Group has expensed $39,530.37. They do have a renewal award pending for discussion next month. The Lakewood Co-Responder Program did not expense in Q1. They are quarterly expensing. They do have a budget amendment being proposed to the Executive Committee on August 10th. Jeffco Public Health has expensed $13,530.38. Jeffco Shares Biometric, their contract started July 1st, so their first expense report is due on August 10th. Recovery Works has expensed $109,807.53. They also have a budget amendment pending for the Executive Committee on August 10th. Monarch was a lump sum upfront for the home investment. Advocates for Recovery Colorado has expensed $576,133.20. They have a renewal pending for discussion at the end of next month. Their contract ends September 12th. So we may have to do a revival and renewal just by the time we get the discussion for that renewal award and when we can get contracting done. Resilience 1220 has expensed $126,174.53. Mountain Youth Network, they did submit their first expense report in June. It has not yet processed when the meeting materials went out. Gilpin County Parks and Rec has expensed $144,501.14. EUNA, our first year was $17,000. Our second year is $17,510 that is due in September. I can't believe it's already been almost a year. We will be moving the next 3 payments for this on the 5-year minimum contract to our accrued interest fund. So Amber and I are meeting later this week to revise how some line items are getting allocated to align with cost and then how they align in EUNA and Workday. So the program management / facilitation line, so this would be like my salary, mileage I expense, part of the Omni Award when we had Laura from the operations department supporting meeting facilitation, her time was billed here. That would be $181,893.04. Program evaluation for Omni. Again, we're revising how we display this for folks. The program evaluation line item is really only $120,000, but Omni expenses at one time. So Omni between these 2 line items has expensed $48,040. The conferences, the state has asked us to lump the $7,500 to the COAG state conference sponsorship last October, the $1,600 national conference attendees, and then the $2,400 for me to attend the AUNA conference, all in one line item. That comes up to $13,650. We have expensed $11,800 so far. Fiscal agent admin, as I stated in June, we think this $35 is for mileage that I use to go to one of the GROC meetings. So that would be moving to the program management line item. Fiscal agent is really like Amber's time and Carrie's time. If we get banking fees, that would just be in this line item. So more updates to come. Any questions on this? We are also working in AUNA to get the funds displayed. So we would just be able to show you in AUNA what our funds look like and what has been expensed where in a very clean format. Standard operating procedure amendments. We do have discussion and vote here. Jefferson County is updating. Oh, Sandy, yes.
Sorry, I was slow. So on the fiscal agent admin, when will they invoice?
They have not decided to invoice us to date. They are expensing other expiring funds for the work they're doing on us first. Yeah, more to come. So we are allowed to allocate 10% to fiscal agency admin. Right now it's about 1.5%. So I'm sure as the federal budgets are changing and Jefferson County is revising their budget, we will revisit in October when we are doing our strategic planning what needs to be reallocated to this. I also want to note for the minutes that Commissioner Dahl-Kemper has joined us and Savannah from Hard Beauty, which does have an agenda item today. Going into standard operating procedure amendments, Jefferson County is updating how their membership section is described in the standard operating procedures manual. So keep in mind, the standard operating procedures manual is really like the document handoff. The bylaws describe the what, the SOP describes the how. So Jefferson County has updated their language. The primary and alternate commissioner appointment is determined by the Board of County Commissioners annual organization and business resolution process. Notification and formal resolution will be sent to the GROC program manager every January. Jeffco Public Health and Human Services nominate their representative through a formal letter to the BCC. The board operations manager will facilitate this process. Appointments are confirmed via briefing, consent agenda, and resolution by the Jeffco BCC. The terms of these appointments are until reappointed or replaced by the BCC. Law enforcement representatives are nominated by Jefferson County Sheriff. Same process, and the rotating municipal representatives are selected by the Jefferson County mayors. Same process. Any discussion on this or motion to vote on accepting that membership term description?
Barring any conversation, this is Leslie. I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second that.
That was Sandy. We'll vote by opposition in the chat. I'm not seeing anything, so that has been approved. Thank you all so much. We do have membership updates. Who is rotating off? And so this was a meeting insert, an insert in today's update. Dan Ayton and his alternate Luke are scheduled to rotate off in October of this year. Heidi McCollum and her alternate Steve Potts are rotating off this year. Laura Weinberg and Chris Wolf are rotating off this year. Janie Baker is retiring in September, and so David will be filling in for her, which means Gilpin will have to do a reappointment to the Human Services. And then Kristen Heath and Judge Jones are scheduled to rotate off this year. I did request that Jefferson County extend Laura and Dan to December of this year. That way their appointments align with all of the other appointments in GROC. So be sure to work with the county commissioners on appointments or reappointments for those terms, keeping in mind that the law enforcement and rotating city have a 2-year term limit. Public health and human services do not have term limit. I'll go Sandy and then George.
Yeah, I had just replied back that some of these will change after the elections, and we do our appointments in January, so it'll fall into place. Janie's name is actually Barker, and Marie is listed as the public health director, but that's not her title. That's Elisa's title. So Marie, what title do you want plugged in there?
Good catch, Sandy. Thanks for getting that. Just community health specialist.
Thank you.
Thank you. I do have it right on the public facing documents. George.
Yeah, just a quick note. Also coming soon is a new commissioner from Jeffco and Gilpin. Commissioner Dahlkemper and I are both term limited with our terms ending early next year.
You said Gilpin, but you meant Clear Creek.
Did I say Gilpin? Oh my goodness. I mean Clear Creek.
You love us so much.
I love you so much. I want to represent you too. Yeah.
All right. Any other questions, comments, concerns about the membership update? I do have a note to revisit this in January. I will work with Leslie and George individually on who the new incoming commissioners will be. In January, we also vote on our new chair and vice chair for GROC. We won't have a past chair because Commissioner Marlin will be leaving his position. Moving on. We do have that in writing, our finalizing of the conflict of interest statement. Since this is so long, I did not put this directly into the standard operating procedures manual. I wanted folks to be able to compare side by side. You read most of the first part in the June meeting, so I will not read this. I do have some questions though. When a proposal is under consideration, each member shall disclose any actual or potential conflict of interest to the GROC. The chair, with advice from legal counsel when necessary, may determine whether a conflict exists and whether recusal is required. Do we want to leave this as the chair? Do we want this to be the chair and co-chair? Do we want this to be a majority vote by the council?
Dr. Shore Miller, I wonder if, and Carrie Markle, if you have an opinion on this, it's, in my experience, usually the person that has the conflict that ultimately decides whether they're appropriately participating. Is that, how do we feel about that as a standard?
That works for me, Commissioner Marlin. It's usually the typical process would be someone discloses that they have a conflict. And if there's a question, they can confer with legal counsel.
I guess this for me, because it states that in the sentence prior, but this is like if someone doesn't disclose and you're like, there's a conflict there. Just a way to have somebody mention that.
We did build into our application process, when we review the letters of intent, which would be the first stage, folks would say like advance, not advance, potential conflict of interest, and they would explain it. So we would be able to earmark it pretty early on in the process of if something is a conflict or a potential conflict. But this would be it. Who is that final decision maker? And George has motioned that it would be the individual after consulting with legal, they would be the final decision maker. I've notated that. I haven't heard comments, so I'll keep going into the examples. Based on the June discussion, we did include some examples of what would be a conflict of interest and if disclosure is required. An employee who manages the recipient's budget, that is a conflict of interest, that is a disclosure. An employee of the same county, but a different department with no budget authority, that's not a conflict of interest, no disclosure is required. A county commissioner on a board, we have decided previously that that is not a conflict of interest, but it does require disclosure. A board member of a program proposal, again, that might be a conflict of interest that does require disclosure. Any volunteer advisor or participant in programming of a proposal or grantee, that's not a conflict of interest, but it does require a disclosure. And then Carrie did suggest, based on the June conversation, that we include a clause about a recusal resulting in a loss of quorum. So if the required recusals under this policy would prevent the GROC from achieving a quorum, which is currently set to 9, we can't conduct a necessary business. The remaining non-conflicted members may, by majority vote, invoke the rule of necessity for that specific matter. When the rule of necessity is invoked, the waiver shall apply only to this specific agenda item identified and shall not apply to future actions involving the same project or recipient. Any subsequent funding decision, including but not limited to contract amendments, budget modifications, renewals, or extensions, shall require a separate determination and vote regarding application of the rule of necessity, and members participating under this provision shall publicly disclose the nature of their conflict before participating in discussion and vote. I believe in the 2025 RFA, we hit this unexpectedly. And so at the time, we just used a majority of the quorum that we had. So if we only had 8 people, then 5 people needed to participate and vote. But that was a very last minute issue that we ran into. So this would give us a more consistent path going forward. Before I go into the next section, I want to save space for comments.
Chelsea, on the chart, I could see how a volunteer or advisor maybe have a conflict of interest. Let's say that they get sent to a training or they get mileage. So there's some financial individual benefit. So I wonder if that should also say maybe.
I can update that. Good call. Any comments on the rule of necessity? I'm not hearing any. So then we also came up with a community representation exception. So the GROC recognizes that effective regional decision-making requires meaningful participation by representatives of the communities most directly affected by funding decisions. Accordingly, limited exceptions may be granted to preserve local representation while maintaining transparency and public trust. When all voting members representing a single county are determined to have a conflict of interest on a funding decision that primarily affects services within that county, and their recusal would result in the remaining counties making funding decisions on behalf of that community, the GROC may, by majority vote of the non-conflicted members, authorize one or more of the affected county's representatives to participate in discussion and voting for that specific matter. So this came up with the Jefferson County Sheriff's Award when all of the Jefferson County voting members were determined to have a conflict of interest, and so they could not vote on that award. So trying to think ahead and prevent that from happening again, having this standing policy. Commissioner Marlin.
Yeah, I've been thinking about this one. I think the scenario you just described would be solved by the changed definition, right? Because if Jeffco Sheriff's Office was to apply today, I think the rest of Jefferson County would all be able to participate, maybe not Commissioner Dahlkemper or the Sheriff's Office. I hesitate a little on this one. I think, you know, that conflict of interest comes because you have an application, right? And it's pretty clear conflict. I could see saying we would allow participation in the discussion, maybe less so on the vote. I mean, I also think you could participate as a presenter of a concept and not necessarily like helping deliberate. So I don't know. I mean, this one, I'm not sure it's super necessary. If folks really want to see it, I would at least ask that we say participate in discussion, but maybe not vote. That's my one opinion as one person. Anybody else have any other thoughts?
Well, I know this came up because there's a very long sentence, by the way. This came up because people that were identified as having a conflict just by virtue of being with the bigger umbrella organization didn't have a conflict. And you kind of lay that out earlier. So I don't know if this extra explanation is necessary either. I'm not sure if it clarifies it anymore, unless it does for others. Yeah.
I can definitely just put, I'm watching the clock. We do need to transition into a UNA. So I can definitely just keep this in my back pocket for future reference, and we can motion to finalize from this part up on the conflict of interest statement.
Okay, not hearing anybody else excited to jump in on this one. I'm going to move that we adopt the updated conflict of interest statement with the exception of the community representation exception. That'll be discussed at a later date.
Second, this is Leslie.
And we'll vote by opposition in the chat. I'm not seeing anything. Some general updates. Remember, the Colorado State Opioid Abatement Conference is in September, is going to be on September 30th. I keep bumping this. Do we want to support travel and per diem? Again, in the interest of time, I'm going to bump this to the August 10th Executive Committee meeting to discuss. There's no cost for attendance. When I get that link, I will share it out with people. And then just shared with me today is the Public School District's Opioid Recovery Trust grant. I did email this to my 3 school district representatives. But if anyone else would like more information, that link is here. That is not associated with the GROC. It's just a funding opportunity at the intersection of school districts and opioid recovery. General updates, grantee progress. Jeffco Public Health has one line item that we missed at the July 13th meeting we need to discuss today. JCMH Soteria Landing is postponed and will be discussed at the August 10th Executive Committee meeting. We also have a request for information now open on our website to fully understand the impact of local communities and the recent federal state funding decisions. That is on our funding landing page, and I did post a news flash about that. So please make sure we get that filled out and shared. Summit planning, the final round of RSVPs are out. They close this week. I will be reviewing the finalist invite list, our budget and agenda and worksheets at the August 10th Executive Committee meeting. We do have a community survey hosted by Omni that is out. It is ready. It's on our website. They've sent a couple of emails out through various listservs. Again, please make sure that you fill that out because that will help direct the Strategic Planning Conference Summit in October. Really quick, we do have presentations from our 6th National Conference attendees. That would be Nina, Adam, Lori, Linda, George, and Sandy. If you guys just want to give us a really quick reflection of how the conference was for you.
I'll start if no one else is jumping in there. This is Linda from Just Living Recovery. So I had two major takeaways from the conference. It seemed as if I heard this messaging in every presentation I went to in some form, and the two things were that we need to make sure that we're supporting grassroots organizations. We need to do things differently, as evidenced by a news report in May that we had our overdose rate in Colorado increased, and people kept bringing that up in this conference. The fact that Colorado had an increase in overdose deaths. So it tells me and tell others that we need to do things differently. So one of those is to support grassroots organizations, and that was defined as organizations with budgets less than 1.5 million and who have services that aren't billable typically. So I heard from people in Maine, North Carolina, New York, Kentucky, all presenting on how to do that. And I picked up a lot of literature on it if anyone's interested to hear more. The second message I heard was to support polysubstance use and not just focusing on the opioid, because if you look at the Denver Post article that talked about the overdose deaths, it says that it was fentanyl combined with methamphetamines. So what's happening is fentanyl is being, as you all know, is being combined with just about everything. And so by not focusing on this wider look at polysubstance use, we are not preventing overdoses in Colorado. So some of the states, what they have done is like Maryland and Kansas, they have their focus is to work with anyone who meets the definitions in Exhibit E, but also anyone at risk of an opioid disorder. And there's a lot of evidence to show that stimulants play a major role in the current epidemic of opioid overdoses. So those two things, looking at polysubstance use, highlighting that in how we make decisions, and also funding, pay attention to the grassroots organizations. Those were the two messages that really came up in every session I went in. And also, by the way, it was a great conference. So I appreciate the opportunity to go. I really met a lot of people, talked about a lot of things. It was great. It was really great. So thank you for that.
Chelsea, are others on here besides George and I?
We do have Nina. I do not see Adam and Lori.
Does Nina want to go next?
Hi, how's everyone doing? Yeah, I'm Nina with Monarch Sober Living Home. I am actually filling in for the owner who is on maternity leave. I first off just wanted to say thank you so much for the opportunity for not only being able to go to the conference, but being able to speak a bit about Monarch Sober Living Homes and our women's launch program that we have launched due to receiving the funding from the GROC Council. So thank you so much for that. I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't spend a lot of time at the conference because I am basically in place for the owner since she is on maternity leave. But I did learn a lot about grant making and procurement, just being part of the speaker that I got to be part of with Dr. Chelsea. So I have learned a lot about what y'all have been doing for the opioid crisis that we were in and now trying to get out of. And I think it's amazing. And speaking on what I'm sorry, I forgot your name already. The lady that just went prior to me, yes, that is a huge issue with having the polysubstances coming up in the community. A lot of things are laced, and it's not just the opioids that is actually the issue. It's a lot more. So I just really greatly appreciate y'all for allowing me to take part in this GROC programming.
My name's Linda, Nina, just so you know.
Thanks, Linda.
George,
want me to
Sandy,
go?
Leslie, any reflections before we go
Yeah,
on? Go ahead.
I can just give a few. One is that I must say that GROC is way ahead of most, which was really great, and people were amazed at what we had been doing. And I was kind of surprised that some states really had not implemented, and they were funneling money maybe other places. It was kind of unclear, but there were suspicions that was happening. And then some states were using it for supporting entities, but they weren't giving money to the actual providers. And I thought that was a very interesting approach, which I like that we're actually supporting providers of services. I also really like the recovery-friendly employer, that we could all work to become, our counties, our organizations can work to become that status. And it didn't seem very cumbersome, so I'm encouraging our HR to pursue that. I also heard that we may not be as focused on infants and children, especially newborns, as some other entities are. So that's something to think about for the future. And then one thing that was interesting on the reporting out and statistical analysis is that there's a comment made from people that do policy and analysis that disclosing like we've succeeded in these percentages may be really misleading this early in the game. And I know we do have that in some of our reporting, so we might want to just discuss that and revisit that, because there isn't enough data to really say we've made X amount of progress. So those are the few things that pop out.
GROC has not claimed any type of impact yet, which is great. We're in alignment.
I will. Commissioner Dahlkemper was there as a presenter too, and so maybe she has something to add as well. The only thing I would add to what's already been said, I walked away with an awareness of how much we really rely on our neighbors to also spend this money well. We are I'm from a county of 9,000, so it feels like a lot of funding and services and need in a region of 500,000. But we really do need our neighboring states to do as well as Colorado is. And I think it's worth it for us to participate in these things because I think a lot of people really learned a lot about how to do it right. And I don't want to sit here and say everything we've done is perfect. The thing I took away personally was just I left very inspired about the ability of art programming to have a difference in this space. We got a presenter from a local Denver-based artist. I'm not going to remember her name, but it was really powerful and really great. And I hope we get the opportunity to fund some cool art-related recovery stuff in the future.
And I'll just add to the comments that have been shared. I was on a panel with Jack Patterson, NACO, a number of other presenters, including some wonderful presenters from Kentucky that included their version of statewide organization representing counties. And there were lots of different questions that came up, around lessons learned, best practices. I think one that really stayed with me is how do we think about long-term effectiveness and success, especially as it relates to what can be a revolving door of elected officials and the changeover. We just talked about that a little bit earlier in terms of Commissioner Marlin and me rolling off this board. But I think the bigger question becomes, and I feel good about what we've done as GROC, the bigger question becomes how do we put in place those SOPs and make sure that we're instilling our values and acting upon our values, and that's shared across all members as it has been, and more, because that consistency is so important in terms of allocation of dollars, the transparency, the fiscal accountability. But that was particularly a theme in the session I was in that I appreciated, along with a number of other questions.
Thank you, everyone. And we are going to transition now into our EUNA reviewer onboarding with Matt. So we are using this as an introduction to the next agenda item, which is a funding request from Hard Beauty through our sole source funding. I did download the application materials and send the hard copies to everyone via email in case they could not onboard to a EUNA to see it this way. We could still discuss the application. But ideally, everyone is going to want to be able to get into the EUNA platform. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Matt.
Thank you, Dr. Chelsea. Let me go ahead and share my screen. This is my first time sharing on a WebEx, so just let me know when you guys can see a PowerPoint presentation.
Yes, you are good.
Perfect. All right. So for today, we have a quick PowerPoint, just kind of go over what we'll discuss here, just the steps, and then I'll also be giving a live and system demonstration as well. So definitely we'll have time for questions at the end as well. But if you think of anything as they come up, feel free to speak up. Agenda for today, go over just logging in. Some of you may have already logged into Unigrants. I sent invites out to some of the new users we created earlier this morning. Show you what kind of email you should have received this morning, and if you're having any trouble logging in, how to get in touch with support. And then we'll go through really the whole process of reviewing the application form, scoring it, and really just how to navigate the system as a whole.
And if you did not get that email, please let me know. You can direct message me in the chat, but it would be helpful if everyone found that email and followed along with Matt when he does the live demo.
Yeah, thank you. So logging in, so you'll receive an email. It would be from this no reply at gotomygrants.com. That's where you'll click to register. Your email will go through just creating a password, and it'll have just a basic terms that you'll need to accept. and then you'll be able to log in using your email and then whatever password you choose. That email will look like this. And I always want to emphasize this too. There's a link to set that password. It's dark blue. It's kind of hard to see that it is a link. But if you click on that, you'll follow through and be able to create your user account. Other email notifications you'll receive. We're going to be enrolling these applications into a workflow that will direct you to the direct applications of where you can go and score them directly. So you'll be able to navigate that in the system. You'll also get a system generated email from the same email, that no reply, that system admin, that'll give you a link to click into that application workflow. Once you log in, you'll be able to get to your the applications that are enrolled by going to Activity, Workflow Classic Actions, and it'll have a list of any applications that are enrolled for you to go in and review. These will have hyperlinks that'll take you directly to the applications, and then you can score accordingly. And we'll show you in some later slides and in the live demonstration what that will look like. Once you click on that hyperlink, it'll take you right to that application, and there will be a tab at the top with kind of like different navigation buttons you can click. You're going to click on Workflow, Available Actions, and there will be an action for you to review that application. And that's really going to take you to the page that'll have all of the information. That's where you can go into the application form, see performance plans, and all of that. Another bar that you can use to navigate is it's specifically to get to performance plans, because that's one thing you'll be scoring within the application form, is clicking down on application materials. And if you click on performance plan, you'll be able to see what the applicant submitted for their performance plan. This will also, you can also view this when you click it on the workflow task, but just want to call out, different ways you can see that performance plan. So scoring the application, once you go in, again, using that workflow, or if you click on the application forms, you'll be able to see the form. Now, in this case, there's only one form that the applicants have submitted. So you can click into that form and begin reviewing their responses, and you'll be able to score those responses in that form as well. It'll look like this, where you'll see their responses are going to be grayed out. You won't be able to edit those, of course, but then you'll have your own fields to fill out, to score, and write any comments. Those are going to be reviewer only fields. That's not something that the applicant will be able to see. That's for us internally to see. You can save, submit, or cancel. Saving it just allows you to return and complete the scoring later, and then submitting the application form finalizes your scores. So the final comment section, you'll see a total of what you scored, so the total potential points you could give them and what you gave them, and you'll be able to write out any final comments. Again, here you can save it, come back to it later. Submitting it will lock in your scores and comments and change the status of the form. So it'll show that you've scored it and completed that. Okay. I will go ahead and go into the system for a live demonstration.
And while Matt is pulling that up, just a reminder that the executive committee already claimed their profiles. And so if you want to go to the uniportal that we had you all bookmark, you would be able to see that we assigned you this application for review already. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll put this link. This is the link to our website. I don't know where the chat box is on here. I will find, oh, show chat. Here we go. So this is where you can go to log in. So again, some of you, if you didn't receive that email, we'll check and make sure. It also might mean you already have an account from previous applications and you just need to log in. If you haven't logged in for a while, don't remember what your password is, just click the forgot your password. If there's an email associated, or if your email is associated with a Unigrants user, you'll receive an email to reset that password. When you log in, this will typically be your home page. Just go through a few navigation steps here, and then we'll go into directly what you guys will be doing with the workflow and to score the applications. But in the top right-hand corner here, you'll have your name, and this is where you can do things like change your password or look at your account information. There's also going to be little icons here in the top right as well. Specifically just going to call out here, if you have any technical issues, you can reach out to our support team by clicking on this little I. This will prompt you to submit basically an email where you can describe what you're having an issue with. This left-hand navigation screen over here is where we'll be living. Really, all you need to go to is activity and then workflow action, classic actions. This is going to take me to the list of actions that I have assigned to me to specifically review applications. So you see here, I have a hyperlink to this specific opportunity. I click into it from here. It'll take me to that actual application where I can start to navigate around this page. So on top here, you have a toolbar with some of the different fields that I mentioned in my PowerPoint. But the main one we'll want to go to is workflow, available actions, and review application. This is going to take me to the scoring module where I can see all of the application forms. I can also see that proposed performance plan as well, and everything that they submitted in their application in regards to performance plans, and then also be able to look at attachments that's specifically for their Exhibit E budget template. To download that, you would just simply click on it, and it'll download to your browser. I'll take a step back to download the whole application. I know Dr. Chelsea had already sent that, but if you wanted to download this as well, you could do so here by clicking that applications, and you can check off if there were multiple applications here. I could download them multiple times. Actually, I think I already did this, but in this case, what it looks like, it'll download as a zip file, and it'll give you all of that, create a folder for any of the application info. This case, it's just a PDF, and then also what they uploaded, that budget template. There was only one thing they had uploaded.
Hey, Matt.
Yes.
I was trying to follow along, but when I logged in, it like made it the whole screen. So I was I went to the classic actions, but I'm not seeing that one in mine.
Yeah.
Did I click on something funny?
Yeah. So until we enroll I'm doing this in a like a sandbox account, but you won't have that until we enroll the actual application in that workflow, which we haven't done yet. But
Nah, I did it.
you did it. Okay.
Yeah,
Perfect.
we did it on Thursday, but we did it in Stage. We didn't do it in
Oh, we
our
did it in
portal.
Stage. Okay.
Yeah, so I just enrolled it right now. Janine said that Janine's seeing that she's seeing it. Barb says that she can see it now.
And I added everybody to the workflow task this morning. So if anybody's not seeing it, it means maybe I just missed you. So just let us know if you're still not seeing it. But yeah, good call out.
Good.
Awesome.
And thank you everyone for your patience. We did this test run with the executive committee, but we're still implementing this system, getting a lot of people onboarded. Let us know if you cannot access this application and start that scoring process.
Absolutely. So I can just click back into the application and get back to going and reviewing the application. So we'll go ahead and start to start the scoring process. I'm just going to click into this application form. Again, we only have one application form to review and score. So I will go ahead and go into this. And
Sandy, did you still have your hand up, or is that an old hand?
It's old like me.
Okay.
So this is where you can review what they had submitted. Scroll down, and then you can see here we have some instructions, and this is where you can actually start to score based on different criterias. So by score, choose anything 1 through 5. I can write out any thoughts or comments here as well. But we have a you can see here there's a kind of a key to how we want to how you should score the application.
Hey Matt, it's me again. So you go from activity, workflow, actions, and I see it. And then what do I drop next? I see application materials and I see score.
Once you get into here, you're going to go to workflow, available actions, and then review application. And then that's going to take you to the form where you can score it. And just click into this, and then that'll take you to where we're at here in the training. And from here, you can see this is where I can save and come back to it, or start over if I need to for whatever reason. Or when you're ready, after you score everything, you can submit it. Okay. And you can see here this final comments if you want to write anything out here, but you'll be able to get a sense of how you scored this application. There's a total score of 55. So you can kind of get a sense for what the overall grade was.
I feel like I'm just, sorry. When I go to that, and I go to workflow, and then I do the review, it just takes me to the final admit score page. I'm not getting all of this. So am I clicking on the wrong thing?
When you click on available actions and you click review,
I just get like the I don't get all that. I just get the final score.
Oh, let me do something. I made a quick change to it. Let me just, I wonder if I only did that in stage when I was going through it earlier. 1 second.
Barb said same for her.
Everybody give me 1 second. I remember, Dr. Chelsea, when we were on earlier, there was a change I made from application review to application form. So I just need to switch that over, and then that should do it.
While Matt's working on that, was everyone else able to at least claim their reviewer profile? Are we having any problems with that?
And can everybody try now? I'm going to act as one of the users in actual Unigrants and make sure it looks good, but it should be good now. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you.
I went in, it should map that now. Does that look okay on everybody else? Okay, perfect. Sorry. Just a small switch, just had to change one thing in the workflow. And we're good to go. Okay. All right, so you should be able to save it. I don't know why I'm getting some error. I'm working in a sandbox environment, so sometimes it acts a little differently. But if you have any issues, like if anybody else is receiving this, this would be like a good time to like open a ticket. Well, if anybody, we can test it a lot in the live version as well, but it's probably just a stage thing. I'm gonna go ahead and click submit. When you submit, it'll just say, are you sure that you want to submit it? If not, you won't be able to edit your scores or comments after the submission. I'll go ahead and click yes. And actually before that too, I do want to just call out the evaluation plan too. So here, this one's specifically tied to that performance plan. So if I want to view the performance plan here while I'm scoring it, what they submitted, that's where I could go to like this application materials, performance plan, and I can see everything they submitted here.
Commissioner Marlin, you have your hand up.
Yeah, hi. So this platform clearly designed to do a whole lot more than what you're trying to train us to do. And so I clicked a button and now I don't know how to get back to where I can actually just look at this grant.
Yeah. Do you know what button you clicked, or do you still see this navigation?
Navigation pane. Yep.
George, I need you a co-host if you want to share your screen.
I can't. I'm on a different device. Okay. But no, I'm looking at a calendar. I do have that sidebar menu, but it could hopefully be helpful to more than just me, because once I'm exactly where I need to be on this platform, as long as I don't touch the wrong button and get lost in like the rest of the ocean of what this thing can do, I'm sure it's fine.
Yeah, we wanted, just for user permissions, we wanted to give you guys a little bit more so that you can view all of the application materials like performance plans. So I think as a good like rule of thumb, treat this activity, and then specifically workflow classics, treat that as your home. If you ever get lost or accidentally click on, an opportunity or something, or get to a page you're not familiar with, this navigation panel will always be there. You just go to activity, workflow classic actions, and that'll take you or give you the right link to go directly back to your application.
I am right
Take that
there.
as your North Star there. But but yes, lot of different capabilities, and for your sake, we're really just focused on that reviewing, but want to make sure you could see the whole application. That just we had to open it up a little bit when we were determining your user record. All right, so
are there any other questions? Are folks finding this okay? I know implementing a software can be overwhelming and frustrating. We do have Matt's PowerPoint was in the email sent out today. I'm available for one-on-ones. If anyone wants to schedule that, I can walk you through your scoring, wait while you score, help with navigation.
I'm just
I
running
just
through
want
it
to
again.
clarify real quick. Sorry.
You're good.
Yeah.
Where do we
Go ahead.
find all the attachments and everything? Like, is there a specific place where it's all laid out?
Yeah, the only attachment is going to be the budget template. And that is Matt is pulling that up right now for you. That's in the original form where you do the scoring. And it says attachments. One of them is going to be the template, and then one of them will be the recipient, the applicant.
And
Okay,
then
great.
again,
So it's just those two. It's not
And
missing anything. If I can see the budget, that's it.
Yes. And again, one of those is going to be the template that is available for them to download and fill out. And then one of them will be the actual applicant's response. Matt and I are working on building the Exhibit E approved line items into the unit budget so we can get rid of that attachment entirely.
Yeah, and again, too, you can download the application. It'll also it'll only download what they uploaded to. So like in this case, I think it was that one, the bottom one that has the HBF on it, and then that's you can see it there. And their application, if you click on a PDF form, I'll pull that over. It'll look like this. It's basically just all of the application information in one PDF. Okay. All right. I was getting I was trying to submit it, but again, in Stage, I'm getting some sort of 500 error. But once you submit it, submit your scores. That'll really be it for yours. If you guys have any issues, if anybody's already gone in there and click save, if you're getting some sort of issue, let me know. We can report it to support. This would be, again, you can get in touch with them directly from this screen here, clicking that little eye, or I'll pull up my.
Yeah, I would suggest your first point of contact for errors is going to be me. And then if I can't mitigate the issue, then we'll go ahead and reach out to support.
Perfect. And then here's my contact information. And then also supports, but like Dr. Chelsea said, reach out to her first, and then we can open a ticket, or she could escalate it to me or our support team. All right. Any questions, or I'm glad folks are navigating live on the call, but any questions I can help answer live here while you guys are clicking around?
No, but thank you.
Awesome. Thank you all for your time. Right.
Can you just clarify, Dr. Shore Miller
Yes.
is being asked to review this, and by when?
It's going to be all of the voting members. And so we use this application just to get you onboarded into a UNA for people to click around and get used to that scorecard. The actual application is just being discussed right now in its hard format.
Okay.
Yeah. So you don't have to submit scores for this application. We were just using that as the demo to onboard to a UNA, get some feedback before we use this process in January. The application being discussed today, I did submit all of the hard copies of their application materials to folks via email, and we're just going to be talking about it and voting today.
Thank you. My only feedback I have is that by the time you have a lot of users and you're trying to get a lot of scores in here, any way to narrow, because it looks like there's about 99 buttons and 2 of them are the ones you want to push. Anything to help just kind of narrow the interface would go a long way.
Okay, Matt and I can play with that tomorrow.
George, do you mean need to know basis?
I guess so. I mean, I'm looking around this platform. There's a whole lot: fund management, program management, grant management, and I think for the purpose of scoring, there's about 4 buttons that need to be pushed, and they're kind of hidden. And so that's just a little bit of feedback for the platform from a user perspective.
Yeah,
If we restricted the user access, it wouldn't let you see the performance plan. And so we could not use the performance plan and use an upload for goals and activities. We'll play with it more tomorrow and see how we can incorporate that feedback.
Chelsea, I think when we did the training earlier, we just had like, step 1, step 2. So go to activity, go to workflow, classics, go to workflow, go to available actions. And that step by step taking notes, but that's helpful for new users.
Yeah, well, we think we set it up the same, but Matt and I will go back and look at how we had set it up for the executive committee so that they could see performance plans and what is changing in the view between February and now.
In your department users, just so everybody's aware, you're not going to be able to create anything in the system. You'll only be able to really view that one opportunity that has the application you're scoring. So don't be afraid if it's not a whole lot. Really, the only thing you're really going to be able to like actively contribute to is that application. But yeah, definitely see the need for a little bit more of a simpler view. There is one, but as we kind of mentioned, there was just like that performance plan, wanting to see that page and how it's kind of written in the reviewer's direction in the form is to go there. But I think in the future we could maybe tweak those directions and give a little bit more of a simpler view. For sure. Appreciate the feedback.
Savannah from Hard Beauty did say in the chat that the Unigrants portal is much more user-friendly than the previous form we used from a grant submitter perspective. Thank you.
That's good to hear.
So if there are no other questions about claiming your Uniportal, again, I'm available for one-on-ones, and now we have an application that we can go in and do some practice accessing and scoring before our January general fund. We will go ahead and move into our request for funding, which is going to be what I've been calling sole source. It could be a special projects. I don't think that is the biggest focus of the conversation. But Hard Beauty did submit a proposal to the executive committee at the beginning of July. The executive committee did vote to advance the conversation to full council. Again, there is an additional attachment of all the application materials in your email, as well as now you have access to it in a UNA. I did include a link to the standard operating procedures manual that describes our sole source funding mechanism, which is really how this project is able to advance to this point. So high level highlights is that this is the only program in Region 10 supporting recovery peer support services and case management to the Labor and Delivery Department. They lost their funding in June due to the federal and state changes. The Stedman Group is bridging their funding through the end of July. They're requesting what would be 15 months. So it would start August 1st and go through December 31st, 2027, would be $37,908.75. That would only cover funding operations at Lutheran Hospital, Intermountain Health, which is located in Jefferson County. If the council is looking for a guide on partial funding, there is a suggestion to just fund the rest of 2026, which would be August 1st to December 31st of this year for $11,508.75. I will go ahead and open the floor for group discussion.
Chelsea, for the people that are new on this call that weren't on the last one, it might be helpful to describe what they're asking to fund, because I know when I first saw it and I saw labor and delivery, it was like, well, why would we fund that? But but when they explain all the support services and the uniqueness of their program to support the moms, that was helpful. Maybe just in several sentences.
Yes, let me pull that from their application. So Hard Beauty Foundation serves adults 18 and over with particular focus on individuals seeking recovery from substance use disorder and or mental health challenges in their families. They offer peer recovery coaching, care navigation, and specialized peer support through trained peer support specialists, peer navigators, forensic peers, and perinatal trained peers. Their free virtual platform, Discover Your Recovery, offers pro-social groups created and facilitated by people in recovery. Their courses they have a program that provides scholarships and more than 60 continuing education credits across specialized education tracks to grow a trained peer workforce equipped to serve high acuity populations, including parenting humans, justice-involved individuals, and survivors of trauma violence. Operation Care is their hospital integrated bedside response peer recovery program, which currently serves pregnant and parenting individuals across Colorado through partnerships with area hospitals and clinic provider locations.
What other questions do folks have about maybe, oh, I see Sandy, your hand is up. It might be helpful at some point, Dr. Shoremiller, just to talk about how this request came up. But Sandy?
I was just going to add that with the information they provided since the last meeting, we had asked how many they served in our GROC area, and 37 out of 129, with 0 in Gilpin and 0 in Clear Creek, just for information. But they do serve GROC residents. And then we were entertaining the partial funding in our last meeting, but then the question was raised, how much would it be to fund them for all of next year? So that's additional information that we have since our last discussion.
And Commissioner Marlin, you wanted me to reiterate how this funding request came about to the GROC?
I think so. I mean, if folks are curious about that or not, I mean, I just basically want some engagement here.
So yeah, Hard Beauty is providing services in Region 10. Region 10 only has 2 hospitals, Common Spirit and Intermountain Health. Common Spirit does not have a labor and delivery program, leaving this as a sole program in Region 10. They did lose their funding in June. Previously, the bulk of their services were funded through Signal. They are prospecting hospital-specific funding. It doesn't sound like they qualify for the community fund because their services start with patients in Region 10, like in the hospital. It doesn't start in the community and they bring people into the hospital. People already have to be a hospital patient to get connected with the service. That could potentially leave foundation funding, but that has been earmarked entirely for 2026. So the earliest that they would potentially get that would be January of 2027. So that's where the partial bridge would allow them to explore that option. But as Commissioner Hollingsworth said, in the executive committee, there were questions about what if they don't get it, then we're just funding a program that would eventually end, where if we did provide funding through the end of 2027, this allows them time to apply in our next general fund request for applications that opens in January 2027 with a January 2028 award date. That would give them more sustainability for the program.
To just add on to George's question, yeah, like how did we because none of our like official funding mechanisms are open, like how did this application come before us? Like how did you figure out this was qualified as sole support funding? I'm just curious about that aspect.
So how, of course I closed our SOP. Raquel from Hard Beauty, and just for the minutes, Raquel also joined Savannah. Raquel reached out to me about losing funding in June, asking if we had anything opened. I said not at this time. If we were to open rapid response funding for one person, we would have to open it for everybody. And I just don't have the capacity to do that. Neither does the council. And so exploring other potential funding mechanisms, it being sole source, then as I said, there's only 2 hospitals in Region 10. Only one of those hospitals has a labor and delivery program. Hard Beauty is the only program currently working in the labor and delivery program, offering peer recovery services, navigation support to pregnant and parenting women with substance use disorder. It's the only program that exists in Region 10, so that would make it sole source. Savannah, go ahead and please refrain from commenting unless one of the chairs grants you permission to speak. Janine, did I answer your question? Yeah.
You did.
I can take on one application. So remember, every time we review an application, the council has to do the reviewing, they have to do the discussion, and then we transition it into contracting. I have to draft the Exhibit A, Exhibit B, the fee schedule, the goals, the evaluation plan. Carrie has to work on that contract. Then we have to get them onboarded into a UNA. We have to get them onboarded with the Omni team for evaluation. So that's a lot of work and a lot of steps to take on several applications. We could do that with one right now if the council felt that this was an emerging need that they wanted to respond to and fund. Without funding from GROC right now, the program would stop existing at the end of July. They have a little bit of money that they can piece through, probably to get them a little bit through August, but this program would eventually stop. So then when they reapply to the GROC funding in January 2027, we would be looking to restart the entire program up again from scratch.
Sandy, I see your hand.
Yeah, I guess I just have questions about their overall funding. So I do see Savannah replied, they got some funding through Region 12 and Region 5, and now they're asking Region 10. So like, what's the overall cost of their program through the end of the year or for a year? Was that in our materials? I didn't see that it
That
was.
was not in the materials because we were only focused on funding Lutheran Hospital Region 10 activities. We do have hard beauty present, so that would be at the discretion of the chairs if you would like to engage them in conversation.
Yeah,
But
I
you
mean, if
might-
folks have, I have no problem at
ahead.
all. If folks have questions for anyone from Hard Beauty, they're here. Let's hear from them.
Yeah, if they have the answer to our questions, it's great.
Raquel, I see you just came off mute.
Yeah, Savannah, Raquel, the question being asked is what is Hard Beauty's total operating budget? So that would be for your program in general, even the services that you provide in other regions. And then maybe clarify Savannah's comment about receiving funding for Region 12 and Region 5.
Well, Region 5s will be like, for instance, like you had said, it's only for that specific hospital. So in Region 5, there's Valley View Hospital that we're looking at funding for that specific region. Region 12 is for Skyridge Hospital. So instead of it being like statewide, we're using it per hospital, per region. Our overall budget next year, I think, is under 750,000. We took quite a big hit with the governor's removal of the involuntary commitment work that was going on through Signal, not just me, but other organizations. And so rather than doing this as a large program statewide, it makes better sense to diversify the funds and put it through local regional. And the reason Lutheran Hospital, we actually are contracted there to do emergency room, but it does not cover labor and delivery. And so this specifically would cover the work just at labor and delivery at Lutheran. And we are contracted at Lutheran. So we don't have to go through an entire process of rebuilding a program or any of that. It's just to get to continue the work that we're already doing inside Lutheran.
What other questions or opinions do people have? Sandy, I'm assuming that hand is a remnant of the previous
It
conversation.
was, but I just thought of another. I always have questions. Hi, Raquel. So are you having any success with other funding? I know you're beating the bushes. So just if you have any updates.
You know, I know we had talked about a little bit about us working towards, you know, at Lutheran, there's a diversified population that comes, even though the hospital's located in Jefferson County, it sees patients from also Denver. And so Denver's RFP opened up. We will be looking at possibly, you know, looking for funding also for those, because I know for GROC and most opioid councils, it's to only provide services for those within the zip codes they serve. And it makes it a little bit challenging for us when we're working at a hospital, because hospitals can't say, no, I can't help you because you're in this zip code. And yes, I can help you. And it would be very challenging for our programming also to say that, like, we could only help, you know, if you've got this zip code and you come in with a substance use disorder and you're pregnant, we can only help you and not the others. And so we are looking at creating some braided funding, so to speak, where we would look at Denver also to take on some of the, and we would keep in contact with Dr. Chelsea as we kind of bring this. She's actually going to help us figure this out, because we've also seen this also in Broomfield. Broomfield Health Department approached me after the national conference looking to see how we would submit work for Samaritan Hospital, but Samaritan's also going to have Boulder County residents and not just Broomfield residents. And so we're going to have to get creative on how we support the funding for labor and delivery in one hospital that sees two different opioid council, so to speak, or two regions of funding. But something we're exploring. I just met with Broomfield Health Department. I think it was like Thursday. And so we'll be looking, and I just got a conversation from Boulder Health emailed me today about funding for them. So Boulder just also opened up their RFPs. So, you know, overall, I always think like on funding, it's money and it's important, but on the scheme of big work, you know, the nice thing is that we've already laid the groundwork. We already have the infrastructure in place, be able to collect the data, the relationships with the hospitals. So now we don't have to build that first part of what costs a lot at the very beginning of establishing a program. We're already established and credited to do this kind of all over the place. So we're just going with the highest acuity of needs. Platte is a big one that needs some support. Their census just raised on the amount of folks. So, you know, we can kind of tell a little bit too based upon the census. The hospital knows how many patients are coming in, and it's mandatory that they report substance exposed newborns as well as those who struggle with a substance use disorder. So we're kind of, you know, working with the hospital systems as well. And then like Dr. Chelsea said, is also exploring funding within the hospital systems to also see if they can help bridge funding.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Friends on the GROC, I have an opinion, but I don't have to express my opinion first. Janine, did I see you unmute?
Yeah, I guess I have, it's, my opinion is more about the process and the project. I think this project's great and I'd be happy to support it. I'm just concerned about like, yeah, the process and that, like, we don't talk about sole funding on our website. We say we have no funding mechanisms open. So if somebody doesn't know, they can just email Dr. Chelsea, like we wouldn't be seeing this in front of us. So just maybe there's something to do about putting the sole funding on our website or something else. I just am thinking about like, yeah, a little bit about equity and access and availability, but that's kind of separate to the project itself, which I can definitely see the need and importance. So yeah.
I do have, I did say this in the executive committee meeting, is that we do have sole source on our website. It is closed. That does not stop people from emailing me almost every day requesting funding. If they are general requests about funding, like maybe it's not in our strategic plan, or they did not apply in our previous RFA, or I have 3 requests for essentially the same thing, I do redirect that to the next available funding opportunity in January. If it is a unique request, I bring that to the executive committee. I'm not comfortable making that decision of saying no. So like I said, Raquel's request came into me. She was a 2025 RFA applicant. The application did not advance past scoring, but the reviewers were very interested in the project. I think it was just another one of those things, not asking the right application questions at the time for this award to advance past scoring. Also doing capacity building and grant writing for the applicant of how do they communicate specifically their work in Region 10, not their entire project across the state. So there was precedent specifically for this application to move forward to the executive committee.
Thank you. Anybody else? Questions, opinions? You are all invited to express them.
I did make a note, Commander Ayton was not able to be here today, but he did email me that he is in support for this request for funding to sustain their services. Lutheran Hospital is within our region and is notated in their application packet. Many of the individuals arriving in their hospital who receive treatment are within our region, and possibly others whose addresses are unknown.
Okay. Well, I'll just state I agree with Janine. I think that this is a worthwhile use of funds, very clearly. In particular, I just would hate to see a mom or an aspirational mom that is receiving services today be told they have to, you know, go find some other way to build their new life. So I would make a motion to support probably in my mind, it's kind of between partial or full. That emergency that I just described could largely be abated in 5 months. But I can be talked into full funding just to give this program a long runway to find a path to sustainability. Does anybody?
I do see Laura's hand up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, my question was really around the partial versus full and wanting to understand the time frame. So I know January, you mentioned, is when applications normally open, but that would obviously not be when they're decided or funds released. So I'd hate to create a gap if we went to December and then they applied through the next process. So is that a correct understanding that if we only did through the end of the year, they'd have to apply in January for a grant for the next year?
Correct.
Okay. So
So it
that
opens-
leads me to wanting to, just personally, that leads me to want to do more than the partial funding through December, because then it would create a gap, an ability to apply through the regular process.
And I think because they are pursuing other funding and other funding mechanisms to braid, I think if we don't already have this established, we can write into the contract about, well, all of our grantees have to report similar awards. We have that as a requirement. And so that would allow us to look at extending their contract with the funds they already have, instead of them just being restricted to that 1-year term limit. So if they do get that match award from Denver, we could extend their award by 6 months. If that helps people's
Chelsea,
reservations.
would that be in January? When would the extension happen?
I am not certain when Denver will be announcing awards. I know that their application is open. I know that they are looking for reviewers, but I don't know what their award date is. And so that would just be something that I would have to work closely with the grantee on. When they get their award, they have to report that. They are required to report that to us. And then we would look at their budget on what are the requirements of that matching award. How does that change their budget with us? What would that extension look like? And then that would go to the executive committee for review and approval. And we do that with all of our grantees. They all have that requirement and opportunity.
Because I guess what I'm hearing is an uncertainty about what number to put in the motion, because people want to support it beyond the end of the year, but we don't really know what the number would be.
It would be
for
this
next year, but we want to be a piece of their success. And then I also just want to say that when I reported out about the conference, one comment I made was that we didn't really have anything supporting the substance abuse affected infants. And so this does. And so I really like the support of adding that into what we're supporting in the communities. But I think we're just struggling with what number to put in the motion.
It would, if you want to do the full year of funding to bridge through the next GROC award date, it would be the $37,908.75. Having the peace of mind that if they receive a matching award, it's not adding on to this like 1 year they have to expense all the dollars. We can't extend the contract date to make the dollars stretch with the matching award. I see Barb's hand up, and then I still see Laura's hand up. So I'll go Barb and then Laura.
Yeah, thanks. And like others have said, I think this is a worthy thing as well. I would not have any difficulty with approving that full funding to the end for the 18 months, understanding what you just said, which is it just bridges that whole year, knowing that if they reapply in January, it's not then funding until January of 28. So really trying to bridge that whole gap. So I don't have any problem with that. I would be remiss if I also did not weigh in on kind of the administrative side of things, that I am still struggling with the equity of how things are coming in, understanding what you said about the precedent. But you also said that, you know, from a capacity perspective, you have the ability to maybe do one. And so I'm just trying to figure that out in my head, that if there was more than one that happened to come in, you get to choose one over the other type of thing. So I just want to make sure that as we move forward from an equity perspective, that things that don't happen in the regular cycle, we're really clear on how that happens. And I don't know that I currently am. So two separate issues, but happy to support this one.
Commissioner Marlin, do you want to weigh in and then I can comment?
Yeah, go ahead, actually.
Yes, in a black and white equity conversation, we would not be looking at this conversation. We do not have capacity to open a funding mechanism in its entirety. Like I said, I am not comfortable denying a funding request. If they applied in the 2025 RFA, if they are a unique situation, I take most of those requests to the executive committee, who decide if a proposal should move forward and in what funding mechanism. I think the rapid change in federal and state landscape did create this gray area for us to operate in, and the council needs to decide, do we want to be responsive to emerging needs now, or do we want to stick hard and fast to black and white policy? That is not a question. That is not a question I have an answer to, nor do I think it's my position to have that answer. I can just continue to take funding requests to the executive committee and allow them to decide where that line gets drawn. I also don't bring funding requests if they're like funding individual scholarships for treatment, because we have a lot of admin to discuss how we monitor that. That is something I'm working through with the advisory committee. So like that's another example of a request that I just wouldn't bring to the council at this time, because we already know that there's significant outstanding questions with that. Commissioner Marlin.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, my perspective on the process is it's a little bit of a happy accident. Just when you look at the need here, the very legitimate need that everyone's acknowledging, that this does qualify for sole source in a way that a lot of other things just won't. That said, I agree. I don't think this meets the spirit of sole source. I think the spirit of sole source is there's a service that we know we want, and then we go and we find it. And the need for this service was clearly initiated outside of the organization. So I think moving forward, we do need to, we may need to clarify our sole source. I also, one of the things that gives me comfort along about the process moving forward is we are preparing to do an in-depth survey of providers about needs and gaps. And we will continue to be able to be as flexible as possible. Dr. Short-Miller and I have talked about releasing an RFI just to get a sense, but we think actually this survey might cover that. So from my perspective, this is a happy accident. And the legal team, I think, says that this is an approach that can work in this instance. And then we just have to continue to monitor this equity conversation and this access conversation very carefully. That's my take on it. And with that said, I'll make a motion if I don't hear from anybody else. Or
George,
Sandy.
the only thing I want to say is that if there's anyone on this call that's opposed to us doing this, please speak up. Don't have it in your head, but not say it, because even though it's been talked about in an executive and move forward to this, we all had different levels of concern and different levels of wanting further definition about this process. So I'm just saying, if you're opposed, please speak up.
Thank you. I'm just going to leave that open for a minute. I don't see any hands right now. Okay. I'm going to make a motion to fund this request up to the full funding amount as discussed.
This is Laura. I'll second.
We will vote by opposition in the chat. I thought I heard someone unmute. No? All right, this has passed. Congratulations, Raquel and Savannah. I will be sending a follow-up email on the next steps. And then we will update the executive committee accordingly. If there are questions, comments, concerns about funding mechanisms and our policies or processes, please reach out to me. Please consider attending the executive committee meeting. I would be more than happy to make this an agenda item on future meetings to be discussed. And I do appreciate everyone's flexibility in this uncertain, unprecedented time. We do have closing, and Raquel did say congratulations to the mamas and families we serve. Thank you, GROC. We do have the advisory committee meeting on August 6th. Renewal application scoring is happening around August 5th to August 17th. So we have Denver Recovery Group and Advocates for Recovery. They have renewal applications due this Friday. I'm going to work with Matt to get them assigned to your reviewer portal, hopefully by Monday, August 3rd. I will send an email out. You will have to score them in eUna. I will be available all of August to do one-on-ones with accessing those applications, interpreting the scorecards. I've already received some feedback on some changes that we can make. But yes, you will have to use your eUna portal at the beginning of August for those renewal applications. The executive committee meeting is going to happen on August 10th. We have decided, the executive committee has decided to make the remainder of the meetings of 2026 virtual. And we will discuss at our November meeting if we want to continue to do in-person meetings in 2027, but for 2026, they will be virtual. Those two renewal applications will be discussed on August 24th. I will include in the meeting materials packet that goes out on August 17th how the discussion process works for renewal applications. We will, again, be voting for that. And that is all I have for you folks today. Thank you so much. If the chairs move to conclude the meeting, we can do that.
Any other comments? All right, I move we adjourn.
Thank you.